I want to talk about how the subconscious mind and how your childhood memories can help to shape your emotional mind now, how you think and feel as an adult. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you're a child and you go to the beach one day and you go with your dad and it's a beautiful day and you got to go off of school a day early and you're so happy and excited and you spend this whole special day, and then your dad gets you a soft serve ice cream and he gets one and you guys both have it and it's the end to this like awesome day. And then, forever you have these positive associations with the ice cream, right? You have this association that you may not even be fully conscious of, but your brain, your subconscious mind creates associations. That's one of the ways that it functions. And so you have this positive association for the rest of your life. Let's give another example. You're a child and you're there with your parents and they go on a trip and you guys are gonna go to the beach and your parents are fighting and it's stressful and they yell at you and you finally get there. You get there late and the weather sucks and your parents are fighting more, and then you go get some ice cream and the ice cream is bad and you get sick and you throw up, and then your dad's like, what the hell is wrong with you? And it's terrible. And from then on, every time you see ice cream, you're like, I just don't really like ice cream. I don't know why. And you may not be fully consciously aware of one of the very powerful associations you have with it because it happened when you were young. Now, from an adult mind, you can look at that memory and say, that wasn't even that big of a thing. It was just one bad day. I just had one bad ice cream. Like, I don't see how that memory could shape how I feel about ice cream. That seems silly. But the thing is when you're a child, that moment, that emotional feeling you felt that day was not silly. It was not small. For you as a child, that was very big. That was a big, important, terrible day, right? So when that association was formed, that was a very powerful emotional moment. Later on as an adult, you may look at it with your adult perspective and not think that that should be such a big deal, right? So this is how these associations are made, and often why we struggle with them from our adult mind, because we look at it with different eyes. So then what happens later is you may think, okay, maybe you're even aware of what has created an association for you. You may be aware of it. And what happens is we often come into conflict when what we think in our conscious mind conflicts with what we feel in our subconscious mind, right? Using the ice cream analogy, but this obviously pertains to things that can be much more serious or much more impactful. But continuing with the analogy, let's say that your conscious thinking is, listen, I know I'm not allergic to milk. Ice cream is good. Pretty much everybody likes it. There's nothing wrong with it. That's an old silly memory. Like, I should be able to eat ice cream. That shouldn't be a problem. I don't know why I feel this way. But emotionally, you have the same feelings in your subconscious mind as you did when you were a child. And now they're in conflict. And guess which one wins almost every time? Your subconscious, right? Because that's your emotional drivers. And emotion is always more powerful than logic, critical thinking, right? So it gets easily overpowered by whatever is driving our emotions, which is your subconscious mind. So this is where we have conflict, and it's where we feel one thing and we think another. This happens with sex. So, if you grew up and maybe there was purity culture. Maybe your parents didn't talk about sex. They simply didn't talk about it. It was like a big secret, and if it did come up, they were like, it's just not something you do till you're married. And you get like it doesn't even have to be super negative. It can be experiences like that. Or you walk into your parents' room one day when you're a child and, you understand now that they were having sex. But as a child, you don't understand. And they yell at you, get out, get out, get out. You get scared. Right? You're a child. And now subconsciously you make an association. Whatever happens between moms and dads behind closed doors is bad and scary. Something back there is scary and bad and I shouldn't have seen it. And so that can make a huge impact emotionally. And that combination, that repetition of negative associations when it comes to sex starts to form a very powerful feeling subconsciously about sexuality. Then when you're older, you may consciously think sex is good. Sex is a part of life. Other people enjoy it. I'd like to be able to enjoy it. But subconsciously, you still have those same feelings. So you feel shame, right? You feel dirty and you feel like a failure and you have all these negative feelings emotionally, even though your conscious mind thinks differently, your subconscious mind feels negatively. And now you're in conflict, right? You're like, I want to be able to have a good sex life. Like, I want to be able to do this. Why can't I talk about sex? Why can't I bring up a conversation? Why do I shut down? Why do I feel dirty or disgusting talking about it or thinking about it? Well, and you're like, because I don't agree with it logically. I know that sex doesn't have to feel that way. It can be positive, but I just don't feel it. Because subconsciously you're wrestling with this old programming that when it was created was super powerful. And it shaped how you feel. And then your mind continues to develop as you mature and grow and get context to live life. And then we have a problem when the two disagree. And so this is where subconscious mind reprogramming, going to see a therapist who does this is why it's so powerful. However, I want to go over a couple of things that you can do using your conscious thinking, which is one of the ideas I talked about repetition, how repetition rewrites the subconscious mind over time. So those repetition of those negative ideas that you took in, those negative things lessons that you took in as a child over time helped validate those negative feelings about sex, right? That repetition reinforced those feelings and built them and made them strong and powerful. But the same thing can happen in reverse. So if you are struggling, for example, with negative feelings about sex and sexuality in your body, one of the things you can do is to consciously reframe your thought when it comes in, okay? So when you get a thought that's like, my body's disgusting, you have to stop yourself and say, nope, that's how I used to think. I used to think my body's disgusting. I am now learning to accept my body. I'm working on it. That may not feel like truth to you. It may not feel real. You may feel like you're lying to yourself, but what you're doing is reprogramming. You're reprogramming. You are a programmer of your thoughts and feelings. And you can start as you begin to force yourself to reframe, okay? And then you have to start auditing. What are the messages I'm hearing around me? If you have a parent that still says things that are negative and unhelpful, you need to figure out, how can I limit my exposure to those conversations? Because I don't need that programming anymore. Start to seek out knowledge from people you do want to agree with, right? If it's about sex, look for sex positive TED Talks, sex positive communities and classes and books, because that repetition of ideas can reinforce the positive associations, and you can start through repetition to rewrite your subconscious mind, okay? And you can do that. It takes time. It took many years to program you to believe the things, to feel what you feel now, so it can take time. But you can also take giant leaps forward, right? When your emotions, when you have an emotional experience, let's say you're reading a book and you get teary and you're like, you feel like you had a little breakthrough. That's powerful. That starts to rewrite your subconscious mind, okay? Those powerful emotions, just like the negative ones did when you were a kid. So you can take on some of that work, and that's seeking knowledge, reframing your thoughts consciously, being aware of what you're thinking and saying about yourself, your body, sex, sexuality, and rewrite them if they're negative. Even if it's simply, I used to think that way and I'm now improving. I'm working on it. I'm changing. Okay? So it's something as simple as that, and it's about what you say out loud, but also what about you, what you think about to yourself, and reframing that. Being an auditor of your thoughts and words and rewriting them if they suck. Okay, if they're your old way of thinking, if that's how that's not how I think and feel, that's how my parents thought and felt. And I don't agree with that. So I'm going to stop saying the same things to myself, right? And you can rewrite those patterns. It just takes time. So one of the most powerful things you can do is to seek knowledge, because that repetition is one of the 5 ways that we rewrite our subconscious minds. Love to know your thoughts. Do you deal with old programming? And are you now, as an adult, able to see that some of your old programming is something you don't agree with anymore? That can be a real struggle, but you can change.